Hi, I'm Christy Del Coro, and I'm here with Jackie Topol, and we are the founders of the Culinary Nutrition Collaborative. And we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves in a moment, but we're just so happy to welcome you to our first workshop in our second year of Eat the Science with the California Walnut Commission. Today's webinar is going to be all about walnuts and their emerging role in gut health and other trends. Just trying to switch the slides here. Okay. So as I said, I'm Christy Del Coro. I'll be presenting today along with my colleague and partner, Jackie Topol. We're both registered dietitians and culinary nutritionists, and we founded the Culinary Nutrition Collaborative, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, as a platform to offer continuing education that's really culinary focused and translates the nutrition science into the kitchen. We started with the first annual conference in 2017 and have since grown to now offering primarily virtual content to thousands of RDs nationwide. And we're so happy to be with you here today. We do have 2 annual conferences and then various ongoing events throughout the year with different partners. And, you know, we're so thrilled to work with Walnuts because working with Walnuts has really been a natural fit. As Jackie and I love being able to feature whole foods that you can cook with in creative ways in the kitchen. These are our disclosures. So this workshop is funded by the California Walnut Commission, and we do not have any other relevant disclosures at this time. So as far as our learning objectives today, we'll be identifying key nutrients in walnuts that may support gut health, reviewing the latest walnut health research associated with gut health benefits, which Jackie will be focusing on, and then demonstrating how walnuts can be a versatile cooking ingredient used across all life stages and across all meal occasions throughout the day. Just some general housekeeping before we kick off our webinar. I know a lot of you wondering how to get the CEU certificate. So you will be receiving an email within 24 hours with a link to a short survey. And after you take that survey, there'll be a link to download the CEU certificate. We really value your feedback, and so we just ask that it won't take you long. Just go through the survey, then you'll see instructions to download the certificate. And if you have any trouble, you can always reach out to us. There will be 2 certificates, one for the attending the live session and one for the recording session, which we'll outline in the email we send to you. Within 1 week, we'll send another email that includes a link to the recording and these slides. So a lot of people ask, will you have access to the slides? Yes, you will have access to the slides. Please remain muted during the entire webinar, but we really want this to be interactive. So if you have any questions, please submit them using the chat feature in Zoom. We'll also be using the chat feature to prompt some questions for the group for you to engage with. They'll be coming from our colleague, Lisa Bruno. And if you answer those questions, I'll prompt you throughout the webinar. If you engage with those, you'll be entered to win this new book called The Everyday Snack Tray by our colleague and fellow RD, Frances Largeman Roth. It's a beautiful book. It's coming out this month. And it's very much in line with what we're doing today. I'll be demoing a faux gras walnut pate and showing you how to put together a beautiful snack board for the holidays. So we just thought this was well aligned and everyone could use a new cookbook. So if you engage in the chat box, you'll be entered to win that. Then we'll also run a social media raffle. So if you post a photo of either recipe today, you'll be entered into a contest to win a beautiful charcuterie board from Crate and Barrel, this wonderful Eat the Science apron that I'm wearing today and Jackie's wearing, and extra goodies from our sponsor, California Walnuts. You'll get some beautiful walnut samples from them. So in order to enter into that contest, post a photo of your recipe and tag at California Walnuts, at Culinary Nutrition Collab, and hashtag Eat the Science. And that can be in a story, static post, or reel. We'll put those details in the chat box as well. And you'll have until Monday, November 13th to enter that. Okay, now we're going to begin the educational portion of our webinar. And to kick us off, we would like to enter our first question into the chat box. So Lisa, There you go. You're on top of it. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think about walnuts? So just briefly, okay, omega-3s, brain health, healthy fats. Let me see if I can keep up with this. A lot of omega-3, a little bit bitter, gut health, lower cholesterol, fiber, protein. Those of you watching the recording can't see all the messages coming in the chat box, so I'm trying to read them as quickly as I can. The healthiest nut of all, protein, great snacking, yummy, brain health, anti-inflammatory. Okay, that's wonderful. Keep them coming. So yes, so you've hit a lot of them. Walnuts are incredibly versatile. That's one of the things that we love them in terms of using them in the kitchen. They're an amazing way to seamlessly integrate seasonal trends, holiday dishes, food trends that we're going to be highlighting here today. And they can pair well with both sweet and savory. So some people mentioned, baked goods, but, they're also a great way to balance out savory dishes. And they can be cooked, they can be prepped in unique ways. They can be chopped, roasted, toasted, blended into dishes like you'll see today. They're great on salads. They pair well with fruit. So there's endless opportunities in terms of using these in different culinary applications and in different meal occasions. Their added nutrition for overall health also makes them a versatile and well-rounded whole food. So as we approach this holiday season, it's a time that us, as nutrition and food experts, can look ahead at the trends in the coming year and stay on and get ahead of them. So taking advantage of this time allows us to better prepare for the year ahead while staying on the pulse of, what's happening in the food and culinary atmosphere. And as an added bonus, we can always keep in mind that they provide a great source of plant-based nutrition, which is one of the trends we'll be talking about. So Whole Foods recently, a lot of you may have seen this, but Whole Foods recently came out with their top 10 anticipated food trends for 2024 in their 9th annual trends prediction report. One trend stood out to us, really going back to basics in the plant-based category, putting the plant back in plant-based. And this includes new and emerging protein-forward products with ingredients like walnuts in place of complex meat alternatives. And if you joined our workshops last year, you'll remember that we were really ahead of this curve, featuring different recipes like walnut meat tacos, meatless meatballs, and pizza topped with walnut meatless crumbles, like a sausage alternative. And two other hot trends that we want to really focus on today that aren't necessarily on this list, but we have no doubt they're going to be at the top of your newsfeed in 2024, are gut health and leveraging AI to support creative recipe ideation, nutrition research, and more. So what is one recent food trend you hope will stick around? Lisa just posed that, our next question in the chat box. So what's something that you want to see, not as just a passing trend, but something that is here to stay? Cacao, full fat dairy, plant forward, healthy snack options, little luxuries. Yeah, I like that one too. Sustainable food choices, plant-based dairy. I know I'm missing some of these. They're coming in so fast. Sustainable agriculture, eating real whole foods, quick and easy healthy meals, smoothies every day, a lot of plant-based and less processed foods, prebiotics, probiotics, affordable nutrition. Okay, snacking, perfect. And cooking from scratch, a lot of less processed, and women's nutrition for women. All right, so let's get into gut health. Year after year, gut health has been a trend to watch, and we don't see that changing in 2024. Consumers are looking to digest the latest information on gut health, as demonstrated by the rise of Google searches on this topic by more than 330% over the past 5 years. And hashtag gut talk on TikTok has 500 million views. Now, when we think about gut health, probiotic-rich foods might first jump to mind. Probiotics have long been touted as the gut health ingredients to focus on in the food industry, with experts suggesting that the probiotic market will reach over $76.7 billion by 2027. However, prebiotics are also gaining momentum now. The prebiotic market is now forecasted to also grow at nearly 13% over the next 8 years. Emerging research on the gut microbiome, which we're all familiar with, suggests that walnuts in particular may be one food to consider for the promotion and support of gut health. And this is due to the prebiotic potential and possible role in providing a variety of associated health benefits. So we'll dig into this topic in more detail when Jackie highlights the specific research and a few more slides, and how walnuts play into this role as a prebiotic and in gut health. Right now, this was something we're really excited to cover today. This is something, I don't personally know a lot about, and I think I'm right there with you that this is something new that we're all actively learning about right now, but it's impossible to get away from. So, this is on top of everyone's mind and feed, artificial intelligence, or AI. AI is the programmed ability to process to process information. AI machines can learn, reason, and act for themselves. It's mind-blowing. They can make their own decisions when faced with new decisions, similarly to humans and animals. We're seeing AI being integrated across work and our personal lives. In fact, a recent survey conducted by WordFinder found that nearly 1 in 4 employed Americans reported using the AI chatbot ChatGPT, which we're probably most familiar with. They started using that for work just months after it was released to the public. So that's a lot. 1 in 4 employed Americans have already started using that. They kind of jumped on it right away. As food and nutrition professionals, we're starting to see the tip of how AI can be utilized in our field. So if you attended Fancy this year, there was actually a session on this. It was on ChatGPT and how it impacts our profession. Sometimes this is met with distrust, fear, or room for improvement, but as it evolves, AI might be a time-saving hero, personal assistant of sorts, and even help optimize our work and predict health outcomes of patients and clients. In fact, AI is being explored across all areas of our profession, including the integration into patient care. A glucose tracking company, I don't know if anyone has heard of this, but a glucose tracking company is using AI and real patient data to optimize individual food choices and their impact to patients' blood glucose. So whether in patient care, data management, or recipe development, AI can't replace the power of the RD and the real-life experiences and skills that we offer as experienced professionals, but AI can be a tool in your toolbox to bolster your entrepreneurial endeavors, jumpstart a recipe concept, or aid in skill gaps where needed. So, while I'm not personally comfortable with, relying on AI entirely, I can see that it does have its place and that it can, really support us in our work if used correctly. So we're curious to know, I think Lisa's going to ask the final question here. Have you tried using AI, specifically say ChatGPT, related to your work yet? And if you have, I'm going to add this. I'm curious to know how you've used it. So I'm getting mostly no's, not yet. Mostly no's. Yes, for my superfoods program. I'd love to know more about that, whoever wrote that. No, not yet. Lots of no's in this group. Sometimes there was a yes for social media posts and blog posts, developing an idea. So yeah, that's how we've, Jackie and I have used it even for like recipe titles, or I think even for the title of this webinar, we kind of used just for fun, like ChatGPT to put in some ideas. And we ended up using a combination of some suggestions. So that was fun to play with. Someone said, tried it for naming a podcast episode and writing a description for it, but it was bad. It wasn't ChatGPT, it was another one. And someone said examples of diet recommendations related to weight loss for IBD, menu creation. Someone's husband used it to generate drafts for customer communication and marketing. Yeah, so someone said so far for photo editing and writing. Okay. So we're going to go through on the next, it's great, so interesting. Okay, so here are some specific tools that you might want to look out for. And we've already talked about ChatGPT, which I think is the one people are most familiar with. And it's really easy to actually, it doesn't take long to set up an account and to start using that. But these are some other ones. So Bard is a Google tool that you can use to really explore creative ideas and explain things in simpler ways. So it generates text, it can translate languages, it writes different kinds of creative content. And this example here is to prompt a meal plan. So you can see this is actually asking to create a meal plan for, I know it's in small text, but it incorporates Peruvian cuisine, has specific macronutrients, specific calories, and even specifies to include ingredients that are easy to find. So that would then, someone said my sound went off. Am I still here? Okay.
I can hear you fine.
Okay. So you can get as specific as that, and then it puts out, generates a meal plan. Chat PDF, which is on the bottom right, someone's tweeting about that. Chat PDF is where you upload a PDF, which could be really useful for us, like a journal article. And then Chat PDF will actually summarize it, and it allows you to learn about new research more quickly. I believe it even lists the limitations and, really kind of goes through it with you in a summarized way. Chef GPT is specifically for recipe ideas. So you can enter in a few ingredients and then see what comes out. So that could be great just to, again, not to create the recipe for you, but to just get the creative juices flowing and give you some ideas for something that then you can go on to create. So in your practice, in summary, at least our take on it is to consider AI as a building block or a catalyst, not necessarily the end point. So it's a tool to enhance your services and your skills. It's strongest when used to aid our ability to create an emotional human connection via food. So not to replace the human connection. But always remember that it's far from perfect, it's still very new, and of course should always be checked with the human eye. And I think with the research, that's particularly important to make sure that you're double checking what it generates. And with that, I'm going to transition to Jackie, who's going to dive into the specific research that I mentioned before that supports walnut consumption for gut health. Let me just spotlight you, Jackie.
So today we're going to take a deeper dive into the current research that supports the role of walnuts in gut health and how to utilize this trend for your audiences. Next slide. So there are many health benefits of walnuts, and they come from the nutrients found within them. Specifically, in just one handful, which is a 1 ounce serving, walnuts provide an excellent source of plant-based omega-3 alpha-linolenic acid. It has 4 grams of plant-based protein, and it has 2 grams of fiber. And it also has many plant-based nutrients and anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, including polyphenols, tocopherols, melatonin, folate, and selenium. So the research we're going to discuss today will be brought to life in the upcoming culinary demos that are rooted in 2024 trends and evidence-based research. So before we get cooking, we want to highlight some key studies that reinforce walnut consumption for gut health. A number of preclinical and human studies support walnuts' role in promoting gut health through increases in beneficial bacteria, prebiotic benefits, and supporting the diversity of beneficial bacteria. When it comes to food, research has shown that consuming walnuts may help promote gut health, and we're learning so much more. Fiber, probiotics, prebiotics, and a variety of other nutrients help promote overall gut health. Fiber stimulates beneficial fermentation and promotes diversity in the gut. Probiotics are the good bacteria found in the gut that can be consumed through either food or supplements. And prebiotics are a subset of fibers that are non-digestible and ultimately feed the good bacteria that's found in the gut. When Looking at overall health, a study from the USDA and University of Illinois found that a small sample of adults ages 35 to 68 who ate about 1.5 ounces of walnuts each day for 3 weeks experienced a decrease in secondary bile acids, which may play a role in colon cancer, inflammation, and gastrointestinal diseases. The study also found that eating walnuts seemed to result in an increase in gut bacteria that is thought to be beneficial for health. And while these results are promising, more research is needed to explore the relationship between cause and effect. Next slide. And now new evidence suggests that walnuts may have prebiotic potential. As we mentioned earlier, prebiotics have been shown to promote the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. And two 2023 review papers explored the relationship between walnuts, the gut microbiome, and personalized precision health benefits. Preclinical and human studies suggest when walnuts are digested, they directly influence the growth of good bacteria in the gut, and that then produces a wide array of compounds. In a 2023 review published in Nutrients, researchers summarized findings surrounding nut consumption and its impact on the gastrointestinal system. Specific to walnuts, the review showed a beneficial role this nut may play in supporting beneficial gut bacteria related to composition and diversity. And while the findings are promising, the review ultimately showed inconsistent results associated with improved health benefits related to critical gut bacteria, such as microbial alpha and beta diversity. Next slide. In the other review published in Antioxidants and comprising of 33 studies, findings suggest that walnuts as part of a healthy diet may help reduce inflammation and promote normal digestive function, in part due to their unique matrix and metabolites produced during digestion, notably a compound called urolithin A. Research suggests that this unique compound, urolithin A, which is produced by gut bacteria after they digest plant-based polyphenols, may help reduce inflammation within the intestinal mucosa. So we remain optimistic, and when considered together, both reviews illuminate impactful findings from preclinical and human studies, suggesting that when walnuts are digested, there's a process that takes place converting walnut-derived elagitanins into a complex family of anti-inflammatory urolithins that may influence the growth of good bacteria in the gut. So why does the research matter? We know that the gut health trend goes far beyond TikTok or social media, and it will continue to embed itself in the foods that line our grocery shelves and in the recipes we prepare. And we really are the experts. So it's really best that we communicate this information and this research. As dietitians, we know inflammation can be a key marker of gut health issues. So discovering compounds such as urolithin A are helpful when considering and managing gut health. While walnuts can offer gut health benefits, they also offer benefits that promote wellness throughout the whole body. So it's exciting to see this trend and interest from consumers. Walnuts are a plant-based food with supporting emerging research that aligns with the gut health benefits that consumers are really hoping for. And also, walnuts offer a simple, cost-effective strategy for providing a wide range of potential health benefits by changing the gut bacteria and supporting overall gut health. So now that we have cracked open the research and 2024 trends, let's get cooking and eat the science. Walnuts have the power and versatility and taste to deliver seasonal recipes that celebrate the latest trends, while providing consumers with important nutrients that may support gut health as well as overall health. And while we're discussing just these two trends that walnuts can bring to life, walnuts fit into many other food and nutrition trends. As Christy mentioned recently in the published top 10 anticipated trends for 2024 from Whole Foods, one of the trends was to put plants back in plant-based, emphasizing the comeback of actual plants in plant-based foods. And walnuts are an incredible plant-based option with versatile uses that can bring this additional trend to life. And we're going to show that in our recipes that we are going to be demoing now. So I'm going to be making a curried walnut and apple butternut squash soup, perfect for this time of year. And Christy is going to be showing a faux gras walnut and mushroom pate. So I'm going to walk you just through the ingredients of this first recipe just very quickly. So we have a butternut squash we're going to use today, along with California walnuts, some water, vegetable oil, a yellow onion, an apple, some curry powder, minced garlic, fresh, some dark brown sugar, vegetable stock, more California walnuts for the gremolata, some cilantro, lemon zest, curry powder, and just a little bit of kosher salt. So that is everything that we're going to use in this recipe. And let me get started. So as dietitians, we really need to provide practical ways to increase foods that support gut health and overall well-being. And a soup recipe is such a great way to do that. Not only is it perfect for this time of year, but we're getting in so many nutrients into this soup from all of the different ingredients. So I've already prepped some things ahead of time. So let me just walk you through the recipes. So I've already cooked the butternut squash. So to do that, I just cut my butternut squash in half, and I roasted it at 350 degrees for about 1 hour so that it's really, really soft. And I scooped out the flesh from both halves of the butternut squash. So I've already done that. The other thing that I also already prepped was the sauteing of the onions and apple. So you just saute the onion and apple with a little bit of oil for about 10 minutes till everything gets nice and soft. And then I added in some curry powder for a little bit of heat. Also lots of anti-inflammatory benefits in the curry powder from all the different spices that are in that mixture, along with some fresh garlic, more anti-inflammatory benefits, and some brown sugar. So first we're going to make the walnut cream. So this is a great way of creating that plant-based alternative that we talked about. Instead of using real cream, we're using walnuts to make a cream for the soup. So to do that, we take 1 cup of walnuts and a half a cup of water. Okay, sorry, let me move back my, give me 1 sec. Let me just move this back so you can see it better. Okay. All right, so I have the water and the walnuts in my food processor. Sorry, my blender. And let me turn that on.
I just want to interrupt. Someone just asked for the speaker screen to be enlarged. So make sure that your view is on speaker view. So that's something that each person has to control as the viewer. Okay, Jackie, go ahead.
Great. So I'm going to now put in the sauteed onion and apple with curry powder, the dark brown sugar, and the garlic that I've already sauteed. So I'm going to add that in.
Jackie, can you tilt down your computer a little bit so they can see more of the blender on the bottom? Thanks.
Is that good?
Yes, perfect.
So let me put that in. So we're going to get a little heat and a little bit of sweetness and cream from the walnuts. So now I'm going to add in the butternut squash. So this has been cooked for 1 hour, so it's nice and soft and ready to use. And then I'm going to add in 2 cups of vegetable broth. So I'm going to add 2 cups now, and then I'm going to add 2 cups in a little bit. So I'm just going to use half of it. I have 4 cups here. Okay. And now let's give that a good blend.
Jackie, there's a question whether or not you can use bone broth.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. If you want to use chicken stock or bone broth, you absolutely could. But this is This is a completely plant-based recipe.
And we're also getting some comments that you have a very quiet blender, but that's actually Zoom. That's why we can't really talk while the blender's going, so it will mute ourselves as well. So Zoom is amazing. That's like one of the best features of Zoom is that they mute the loud machines. So she does, her blender's still loud.
Okay, so
But
now
I think you're using a Vitamix blender. Someone did ask what kind you're using.
the Vitamix. So now that everything is blended, I'm going to add it into my soup pot. Get every last little drop. And then I'm going to add in the remaining 2 cups of broth. Give that a stir. And now we're going to let it simmer on the stove for 10 minutes. And the reason for doing that is it just brings all of the flavors together. And I'm going to simmer it for a little bit less time for the sake of this cooking demo, but it's still going to have lots and lots of flavor. So let me just put this on the back stove. And I'm going to show you how to make the gremolata now. Hold on one sec. I have to just switch to my food processor now to make the gremolata. So a gremolata is something that comes from Italy. And it's typically made with parsley and lemon and garlic. So this is a slightly different version, but it's going to really balance the flavors that are in the soup and pair really well. So for my ingredients, I'm going to add in another 1 cup of walnuts and a ½ cup of chopped cilantro. So instead of the traditional parsley, we're using cilantro, which just really pairs well with this recipe. And then a tablespoon of curry powder to, again, really balance and bring out the curry flavor that's already in the soup. It's going to enhance it. And then some lemon zest, which is typically in a gremolata. So I have 2 tablespoons of lemon zest. And then lastly, just a ½ teaspoon of kosher salt. So I'm going to put all of this together and just pulse it really quickly.
Can you hear me, Jackie?
Yes.
There's a question whether or not you can skip the curry powder, but that's kind of, I mean, you could, but for this soup, that's one of the key elements of flavor.
If you're afraid of the heat, definitely get a mild version, and then you could maybe cut it in half, and that would be fine. So you'll get a little bit of the flavor, but it won't be as quite as intense. But mild curry powder is usually like not even that spicy, especially when it's with all these other flavors. You've got like the sweetness from the butternut squash. You've got the creaminess, which also really tones down the heat. So actually, if you're somebody who likes heat, you might want to use a hot curry powder blend, because that will give you more of that intense heat, since the walnut cream is going to tone it down just a little bit. Okay, so my gremolata is almost done. I'm just going to give it a couple more pulses.
No, someone suggested using turmeric instead of curry.
You definitely could.
Someone else said garam masala for extra heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what the curry powder looks like. Let me just get a spoon. Hold on. And I will show you up close what it looks like. Okay. So we are going to top that with our soup. I'm going to now pour out my soup. I'm going to just ladle some in a bowl real quick. Any other questions come in, Christy?
There's some that have been answered. So one was about shelf stability of walnuts and how to prevent them from going rancid. So, you know, we always recommend that you refrigerate or freeze your walnuts for extended shelf life. and then just pull them out as needed. And also wait to toast them until you're ready to consume them.
Great.
And there was another question. Well, this is about AI. We can address it later. And someone wanted to see it on the stove.
I can't really bring my
Okay. Maybe you can bring the pot.
there.
You can bring the pot over, maybe.
Sure.
In a moment. And then there was another question about substituting parsley for cilantro for those who don't like cilantro. And I said, I'm sure that would go well.
So this is what it looks like in the pot. You can see it well, right? Okay.
And then there's some suggestions on, for instead of curry powder, turmeric plus coriander and cumin to avoid the heat. And what type of, there's two more questions I'll ask you now. What type of apple do you usually use? Does it matter?
I like to use a red apple that's got some sweetness to it. I wouldn't use something like a Granny Smith. It's going to be too tart.
Yeah. And then if you have a good vegetable broth that you recommend, I don't know if, you know, you don't necessarily need to share a brand, but like things that you look for in a vegetable broth, maybe? You're buying it at the store?
I'll tell you, I typically like the brand Imagine. They have a no chicken broth, which I really like because it's very neutral. But I try to find one. You kind of have to taste them and really see which one you like the best. Some of them are a little sweeter, which actually would go really well in this soup. But sometimes for other recipes, you don't want that sweetness. You want more of a neutral flavor. So it's good to try them. I like the one that I mentioned just a moment ago is good because it's a very neutral flavor. So I'm just going to top it with the gremolata. And it just gives this nice pop of flavor. It's this nice brightness from the lemon zest and a little bit of brightness and more flavor from the cilantro. And then we're getting more of those health benefits from the walnuts in the gremolata as well. So I hope that this recipe and Christy's recipe really shows you how we can highlight the 2024 trends, which are ones that we as dietitians can really get behind and certainly can serve as inspiration to share on your communications channels like Instagram and TikTok and the others. So I hope everyone likes this recipe. And Christy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. There was another question about whether or not stock would give a stronger flavor to the soup. I mean, I think it just depends what kind, how it's seasoned. Yeah. You know, it's how much spice you're adding. So like the curry powder does certainly like overtake, not in a bad way, but it, you know, kind of is a predominant flavor. So it might overpower some of the flavor from the stock, but yeah, I think that depends. Lots of people say it looks great. They can't wait to try it and how easy it was.
Super, super easy recipe.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so there's some sizzling in the background on my end. So I will pin myself now. And if you have more questions, you can just, you know, put it in the chat box and we'll try to get to them at the end. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Christy, I'm sorry. I forgot to go over my last little tips.
Oh, right. Sorry about that. Let me show you.
Okay. Just wanted to share a couple really brief tips on what you can do with any leftover gremolata. You can actually use it to crust fish or chicken or tofu. And another really cute way to serve this, especially for the holidays, is to take those little mini pumpkins, hollow them out, and then spoon the soup into it and serve it that way. Super cute way of serving. So sorry, Christy, I will pass it off to you again.
Okay. Oops. Okay, great. So today I'm going to be demonstrating a really fun recipe. I really loved coming up with this recipe because we had the idea, but we hadn't necessarily made it before. We just had this feeling that it would work. So it was a fun challenge. I am not entirely plant-based, although I eat lots of plant-based food. So, but I have had, you know, chicken liver pate before, and I've had foie gras pate before in my life, so I know what the original versions taste like. But I thought, we thought it would be fun to come up with a plant-based alternative, since it can, when you blend mushrooms and walnuts together, you get a similar consistency and look. So today I'm gonna be putting together a snack board and showing you how to make this entirely plant-based pate. So this is based in it's really easy, mushrooms and shallots. So mushroom and shallots together are just such a beautiful combination. I actually use it as a puree for like a mushroom farro dish, or even as the base of a soup. So you can't go wrong with mushroom and shallots together. I saute that with some herbs, and which I'll show you, and then add a little bit of soy sauce or tamari for some umami, and then blend that with the California walnuts and some canned lentils. So this adds extra fiber and also just helps with the consistency and adds extra protein. On ahead and I've gone ahead and taken 8 ounces, just a whole 8-ounce container of sliced either baby bella mushrooms or white button mushrooms, and 2 shallots. And for those of you who aren't familiar with shallots, this is a shallot. It's like it's in the onion family, but it's sweeter than an onion. And it's really nice when it's caramelized and sauteed like this. So this is just sauteed with a little olive oil, and I have a sprig of rosemary and a half a tablespoon, I think, of a tablespoon of fresh picked thyme. So I will now add 2 tablespoons of tamari for some umami while it's on the stove, and I'll bring that back over and I will deglaze that. So I'm just gonna, I'll do it in front of you, but the idea is for it to be hot. I'm just gonna cook this for another minute on medium heat. And then everything's going to go in the food processor. So while that's finishing cooking on the stove, I'm going to go ahead and add my other ingredients. So I have 1 cup of walnuts. These are not toasted. We felt that the bitterness might be a little bit stronger, even though, I love the toasted walnuts, but that I'm just going to use raw walnuts to not really bring out that stronger flavor when they're toasted. A half a cup of the canned lentils. These are no salt added. And I'm leaving a little bit of the juice. They're drained a little bit, but I leave a little bit of the liquid. They don't, we kind of want some of that moisture. And then I have 2 teaspoons of maple syrup and a teaspoon of sherry vinegar in here that I've added. And you can adjust this, based on your own taste. I'm not adding salt to this. I've added a pinch of salt already when I'm sauteing the mushrooms, and the tamari, even though I have a low sodium one, also adds a little bit more salt. So now I'm going to take the walnuts off. The mushrooms off the stove. And you can see here, we don't want to blend up the sprig of rosemary. So I'm just going to take this out with my hands. But it's okay to blend the thyme leaves. So I'm adding this with everything that's in the pan. And it's good. It's fine to do it while it's hot. Everything is a little bit easier to emulsify and make it smooth while it's hot. But if you wanted to do this in stages, you could also do that. Okay, and now behind me, I'm just going to blend this for, I'll bring it back and forth so you can see the different stages. I'll blend it and scrape down the sides.
Christy, someone's asking if you could use another substitute for the sherry vinegar.
Yeah, I mean, you could leave it out. It's only a teaspoon. You could add, you know, a touch more, sorry, the tamari. I've also tried this with coconut aminos, instead of like the maple syrup soy sauce combination. So that's also, you know, that just, again, it's like a little bit more sweetness. You could try maybe a balsamic vinegar or an apple cider vinegar could probably be good too. Balsamic is again going to be a little bit sweeter, but yeah, it's, you know, and it's just to give a little bit of acidity. So you can see how it's already starting to get chopped up. It needs a little bit more.
And someone else is asking if they could use something else instead of canned lentils, like maybe white beans.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Oops.
I think it would definitely work, but the lentils do
Can
have
you hear me over the blender?
Yeah.
Can you hear me over the blender?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I think, oh, sorry, Christy. I was just gonna say, I think the white beans might just be a little bit milder, so it's not gonna have quite the same meatiness, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, you could certainly, they're also pretty neutral. So you could certainly try using the white beans. Okay, let me just check on it again. Doesn't want to come off. Oh my God. This has never happened to me before. Okay. I don't know why it's stuck, but I'm gonna bring the whole thing over here. Okay, so this still needs to be blended a little bit more, but just a touch. And then I'm going to show you how to assemble the grazing board, snack board. Are there any other questions right now while I blend this again? We'll just continue to blend this.
Not that I see. Oh, somebody asked if there's any, what our favorite brands for a blender and food processor are. They're in the market for new ones.
This one, I mean, I got as a wedding gift like many years ago, 10 years ago. So this is a Magimix by Roboku. So it's like Roboku is like the kitchen, the brand that professional kitchens use, and this is like the home version for it. So I really like this one, but I know there's a lot of great ones out there. Jackie, which one do you use?
So for a food processor, I love my Cuisinart, and I've always used Cuisinart for my food processors. They really last well, and I love my Vitamix, but I also have a NutriBullet too. So I like both.
So while that's blending, as long as everyone can still hear me over the blender, I will go ahead and show you how I put together the grazing board. Okay, so here I'm going to cut some apple, kind of fill this in. But okay, so the elements of a snack board, and I actually got to talk to Francis a lot about this because I wrote an article for today's dietitian that's coming out this month on healthier holiday snack boards. So I was able to talk to a few dietitians about how their favorite ways to put together snack boards. And it's important to have different elements of sweet, savory, salty, different textures, you know, incorporating lots of fresh produce in there. So, and lots of different colors, because they're really just like a beautiful way to present food. So here I have lots of toasted walnuts around, and then I've put some fresh rosemary because we have rosemary in the pate. And then I've put just some blackberries here. I know they're not particularly seasonal like right now, but they just happen to look really good at the store. But you could put, you know, some different citrus fruits. I have some little crostini that I made and some fresh grapes. But you could also put cheeses on here as part of that. But, you know, it doesn't have to just be meat and cheese. So there's a lot of great opportunities to feature, different produce forward ingredients. So now I'm going to take my pate, and as I'm bragging about this blender, it's got stuck on me. So maybe this isn't the best brand to get. It's like after 10 years, is it giving me a hard time? There it goes. I don't know what is going on with it. So we can see it looks exactly, I mean, I know it's not like necessarily the most, amazing color at first, but it smells so delicious. And my husband couldn't believe that there wasn't any actual meat in this. It really just, it mimics it so well. And even if it doesn't even have to mimic it exactly, it's just delicious. So I just put that in the middle. My kids have even been gobbling this up. So then you can spread some on here, and I like to, dot it with some thyme, sprigs of fresh thyme. And then you can even, like, I use shallots in the puree, so you can even take like some pickled shallots and put on top. And then you have a great spread. And this has no, this can be left out. So grazing boards, you want to think about things not really going rancid, or not having a good shelf life as they sit out and are there for people to graze on. So this is something that can really stand up to being out at room temperature for a while. So I'm going to try this now.
Christy, someone asked if they could make it a day ahead and keep it in the fridge.
Yes, I kept mine in the fridge for probably about a week.
Yeah.
It's 5 days is like the rule of thumb for leftovers, but yeah, it definitely does really well. Like nothing, because the shallots are cooked, you don't have any issues with any kind of raw onion flavor. So sorry, I realized what time it is and I have to go through these last slides. Sorry guys, I got to just sitting here snacking. So this can be repurposed as a stuffing for a ravioli, or even like a chicken breast. You can thin it out, as I said, and use it as a mushroom soup, or like a creamy mushroom sauce, or even a sandwich spread. So we just want to leave you with some other tips and inspirations for different areas of practice. Whether you're in social media, clinical, retail, or sports nutrition. We hope that these have given you some inspiration for different ways you can communicate the health benefits of walnuts and how to support gut health through different food trends. You can, think about the plant-based remixes featuring this recipe, this pate. You can use a nutrient-dense soup in patients that have clinical issues that, may need altered textures. And, for sports nutrition, these are great, like pre and post workout hacks, and just kind of weaving in the trends in those communications. Your audience best ultimately. So just use these as, food for thought, and tailor them based on your audience. But we just wanted to, give you some examples of how we think this could be incorporated into your areas of practice. And now, before we leave you, though that does end the educational portion of our webinar, we just want to highlight some resources that California Walnuts has. So there's some wonderful one-pagers on gut health and a gut health recipe collection. And there's also a plethora of recipes and tips for keeping walnuts fresh, which came up today in the chat box, and also health professional resources. There's also a Produce for Better Health plant-forward eating guide found on the California Walnuts website. So you can go to walnuts, walnuts.org/health professional, or walnuts.org/eat the science for our landing page, where you can learn about upcoming workshops, which are on January 31st and May 1st at the same time, and even view our recordings from last year. So now, before we have 3 minutes left, I'm happy to go through any final questions.
There are some people cooking along. If anyone maybe wants to show us what you've made, if you've cooked along, we can spotlight you. We have a couple minutes to do that. And I will look through, there was a question, since fresh fruit and vegetables are not always the best in winter, are there substitutions for using canned or frozen type products? And I was thinking of, maybe doing like a fruit compote, like making a homemade jam. Certainly you could do that using frozen fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like frozen is always, I mean, for legumes, I think canned is great, like the canned lentils, but I think for produce, frozen is always, the best alternative. And, but if you're cooking it down like a compote, then like something like canned peaches, could also work well. And someone asked if you'll have access to the slides. Yes, you'll have access to all the slides. We'll send that out in about a week with the recording. And the nutrition facts will also be available. And if you're on the Walnuts, so these recipes are also found on the walnuts.org website. Kai just wrote in, yes, that she found the foie gras recipe, but she's having a hard time finding the soup recipe. We're happy to help you with that. It's definitely on there. Does anyone, if you could let, before we sign off, if anyone is cooking along or has tried these, let us know what you think.
And I also just want to point out too, that we have all of the references towards the end of the slide presentation, which you'll be receiving. So you can take a look at those studies yourself too.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, Kathy is